She woke up before the sun each day because life did not wait for her to rest. The room was small and quiet, and the air felt heavy with duty. She sat on the edge of the bed and looked at her hands, which were rough from work, but still gentle in spirit. There was no one to wake her, no voice calling her name, only the sound of the city slowly breathing outside. She lived with responsibility on her shoulders from a young age. Bills had to be paid, food had to be bought, and dreams had to be kept quiet. She did not complain because complaining did not change anything. She believed that staying strong was the only way to survive her. Days followed the same pattern. She walked to work before most people were awake. The streets were calm at that hour, and she liked that calm. It gave her time to think about nothing and everything at the same time. Work was not easy, but she never asked for more than what she was given. She listened more than she spoke and observed people closely. She noticed how some smiled only with their lips and not with their eyes. She learned early that pain often hides behind silence. There was something gentle about her presence. People felt safe around her, even if they did not know why. She offered kindness without expecting anything back, not because she was weak, but because she chose to be human. Morning felt like every other morning until it did not. She stopped by a small place to rest for a moment before work. It was not special, just a simple place where people passed through. She stood quietly waiting, lost in her thoughts. Then something small happened. Someone spoke to her with warmth, not out of habit but with real attention. The voice was calm and respectful, and it made her look up. Their eyes met only for a second, but that second felt different. He did not say much, and neither did she. It was not a deep talk or a dramatic moment yet. Something settled in her chest like a soft weight. She did not know why she felt it. She did not try to understand. He noticed her quiet nature and did not rush her. He spoke slowly and listened carefully, as if her words mattered most. People rush through life, but he did not rush through that moment when they went their separate ways. She thought it would end there. She believed moments like that were just moments, nothing more. Still, she carried it with her throughout the day. Work felt longer than usual, and her mind wandered often. She caught herself thinking about the sound of that voice. She felt strange for caring about something so small, yet she could not ignore how it made her feel lighter. That evening, she returned home tired as always. She prepared a simple meal and sat alone again. The walls did not judge her silence, and the night listened quietly. She wondered when life became so heavy, and when she stopped noticing etas. She lay down to rest. She thought of her past, of moments where she had to choose strength over softness. She remembered times when she needed help, but had none. She promised herself long ago not to depend on anyone. Still, that promise felt less certain. That night, not broken, but gently questioned. She wondered if it was possible to be strong and still let someone in. Days passed, and life continued without pause. Focused on her duties and pushed the memory aside, yet fate had a way of returning what was meant to stay. She saw him again without planning it. The place was the same, and the timing felt natural. This time, there was a smile that felt familiar, not forced, not shy, just calm and warmly. I spoke a little more than before about small things, about the day, about nothing important yet. The comfort between them grew without effort. She noticed how he paid attention to details, how he did not interrupt when she spoke, how he did not look away. When she shared small truths, she did not share much, but what she shared felt safe. Had been a long time since she felt that safety. He did not ask questions that crossed her limits. He respected her silence and valued her words equally. That balance felt rare and precious. When the moment ended again, she felt no sadness, only a calm sense that something had begun quietly. She did not name it and did not rush it. That night, she slept with a softer heart. Life was still hard and nothing had changed around her, yet something inside her felt gently different. She did not know what this connection would become. She did not expect promises or miracles. She only felt the comfort of being seen without effort. This was how the story began, not with loud words or grand actions, but with two people crossing paths at the right time, and though neither of them realized it yet, their lives had already started to shift, turned into weeks, and the small moments between them began to multiply. Every meeting brought a new layer of understanding and quiet comfort. They did not plan their encounters, yet they happened often enough to notice she started to look forward to those moments, not with expectation, but with a gentle curiosity. Every word he spoke carried weight. Not heavy, but meaningful. He had a way of noticing things most people missed. A small smile that faded quickly, a tired glance that she tried to hide. He acknowledged them softly without making her uncomfortable. They shared small parts of their lives, Favorite place? A memory from childhood? A simple thought. Nothing grand, yet it felt important because it was honest. She discovered that he had his own struggles, challenges he did not share with the world, yet he chose to show small fragments to Hera. Trust built slowly over quiet afternoons. He listened to her without judgment. The way he listened made her feel lighter. She had carried so many things alone for so long, and now someone was quietly holding space for her. They did not rush into deep conversations. Discussion had its time, and every silence had its place. She noticed that she could be herself without fear, and that freedom made her heart settle in a way it had not before. There were no grand gestures, no promises, yet just a gentle unfolding of attention. And each day added a new stitch to a fabric that was growing between them. She caught herself thinking of him during the day, not obsessively, but gently, as one thinks of something comforting. Even when life pressed on, she carried a quiet smile. That belonged to no one else. He seemed to feel the same way. In the smallest ways he showed that he remembered details. A question asked days ago, a thought repeated without being prompted. Those small acts were louder than any words could be. They began to meet in different places, sometimes in a quiet corner of the city, sometimes in a small street where sunlight fell softly. No place was special by itself, but together they became places of meaning. Through these moments she began to share more of herself, not everything, yet not all at once, but enough to know she was trusted and valued. He never pushed and never pried. Every piece of her that was offered was received with care. This balance made her feel respected and safe. She remembered times when her trust had been broken, times when kindness was faked or temporary. Those memories made her cautious, but also grateful. That someone could be patient and real, grateful. That connection could grow slowly without force. Without force was a new experience. And it unsettled her in a gentle way. Her family noticed subtle changes. She seemed lighter, more present, more alive, though she did not speak of him. They could see the softness in her eyes. Work became easier in small ways. She moved through her day with a quiet strength, not the strength that shields from life, but the strength that comes from feeling understood. He noticed the same change in her, though he did not comment. He felt it in the small moments they shared, a lingering glance, a quiet laugh, a presence that felt familiar and warm. The bond between them was growing without words. It was not a bond defined by titles or expectations. It was a connection built on attention, patience, and mutual respects. Some days they spoke more and laughed more. Other days silence covered the spaces between words. Even silence was not uncomfortable. It was shared and safe. She began to understand the power of quiet companionship, how it could heal the small cracks that life created over time, and he began to see how patience and presence could mean more than effort or force. Through these simple acts, their lives intertwined gently, like threads weaving a pattern that neither fully understood yet both valued. It was a slow unfolding of trust and warmth. And though the world outside continued with its noise and demands, they found moments where the world did not matter, moments where attention and care were enough. Every encounter left a trace in their hearts, not a trace that bound or trapped, but a trace that grew into gentle anticipation, a quiet longing that was comfortable and kind. She noticed how much she could enjoy someone without needing possession, how love could exist in its simplest forms and still feel profound. He discovered how listening without judgment could be transformative, how small gestures and attention could build a foundation stronger than words. It was in these ordinary yet extraordinary days that the essence of their bond, gray bond that neither rushed nor forced, a bond that asked nothing but offered everything. And so life continued around them. The city moved fast, and people passed by unaware, yet in the quiet corners and small streets they discovered something lasting, a connection that was soft, yet firm, a presence that was light yet deep, days and weeks folded into one another, and each encounter added to the tapestry of understanding. They did not yet know what the future held, or how life would challenge them, but they knew that the moments they shared were real and meaningful and worth noticing. Their bond grew quietly, but life had a way of testing it. Challenges arrived in small and unexpected ways. She found herself facing situations that demanded more than she had to give. Work became heavier and responsibilities multiplied. Some days she felt trapped under the weight of it. She struggled to keep a smile on her face and to carry on as usual. He noticed the change, even when she tried to hide a slight tension in her shoulders. A quiet sigh that escaped without meaning to, he did not confront her aggressively. Instead, he offered a presence that was calm and steady. They met one afternoon by chance, in a place that had become familiar. She did not speak much, and he did not force conversation. The silence between them felt heavier than usual, yet comforting in its way. She wanted to share the worries, but could not find the words. He did not push, but stayed close enough to offer support sometimes. Support was simply being there without asking for explanations. He shared small pieces of his life, the burdens he carried, the choices he made. Not everything, but enough to remind her that she was not alone in her struggles. The reality of life began to press on both of them. Family issues and personal fears made their connection harder to maintain. At times, they both wanted closeness, but circumstances forced distance. She felt torn between duty and desire. Every choice carried a consequence. She wanted to reach out, but feared creating trouble for herself or for him. He sensed her hesitation and respected. I've understood that love could not be rushed and trust could not be demanded. He only offered patience and attention quietly. Their encounters became shorter and less frequent. Each meeting carried a silent question: would the bond survive the pressure of the world around them? In distance, they remained connected in small ways. Remembered word, a shared glance, a thought that lingered across time. These tiny connections reminded them that their bond was still alive. They experienced moments of doubt. She wondered if she was strong enough for love. While carrying her burdens, he questioned if he could provide the stability she needed without losing himself. Despite the doubts, they did not let go. They returned to each other when life allowed and embraced the moments with Craven. Small acts of attention became acts of courage. They learned the value of patience, how waiting and understanding could be as powerful as grand gestures, how trust grew slowly through consistency and quiet respect. Sometimes they walked together without speaking, side by side. They observed the city, the people, and the passing day. The presence of the other provided comfort beyond words. She discovered a new kind of strength, not the strength that hides pain, but the strength that accepts it and moves gently forward. He discovered that love could be present even without perfection. Their relationship faced trials without dramatic explosions. Instead, life tested them through subtle pressures and the demands of reality. These small tests proved more difficult than any grand conflict. She felt fear and uncertainty, yet also hope. Each challenge she faced reminded her of her resilience and of the support he offered. Even if unspoken, the presence mattered more than words. He felt a deepening of emotion. The bond was no longer simple companionship. It had become a quiet dependence on each other for strength and courage. He realized how much he valued her existence. Even when circumstances were hard, they began to share more openly about their fears, not all at once, but carefully in measured pieces. Every disclosure was received with empathy and care. This slow unveiling strengthened their connection. Though life pressed on with its harsh realities, they discovered moments of light, a shared laugh, a small kindness, a smile that lingered. These moments reminded them why the bond was worth nurturing. They understood that love was not just comfort, but also patience, not just joy, but endurance, not just closeness, but also respect for space and time. In these trials, they grew individually as well as together. She learned to lean on someone without feeling weak, learned to offer support without overstepping boundaries. Every test and challenge became a lesson in understanding and care. They faced reality together without losing the essence of what connected them. They noticed how the smallest gestures could carry meaning. Hand held for a moment, a glance that said more than words, a presence that offered reassurance without asking for return. Through struggle, They discovered resilience through silence. They discovered depth through patience. They discovered love, Evan. When life demanded distance, their hearts remained connected. The bond was no longer fragile. It had taken shape through shared endurance and, though the path was not easy and the days sometimes heavy, they began to trust that their connection could survive the pressures of the world. They began to believe that love could exist, quietly yet powerfully. Even in the face of reality, life brought them to a point where they could not avoid the truth of their feeling circumstances. Forced honesty in ways that were both frightening and freeing. She realized that the bond they had built quietly was now demanding recognition. They met on a day that seemed ordinary at first. The air was soft. The city moved around them as always, yet inside them both a storm of emotions quietly waited to be acknowledged. She spoke first, though carefully her words were hesitant yet full of meaning. She shared the fears and doubts that she had carried alone, the moments of weakness, the times she had questioned herself and her choices. He listened without interruption. Each word sank in and was met with understanding. Did not offer solutions or lectures. He simply acknowledged the truth of her experience. Then he spoke. His voice was calm and steady, though there was emotion beneath it. Shared his own doubts, his fears, and the ways he had questioned his ability to be present. He admitted the moments when he had felt unsure if their connection could survive. This exchange was not dramatic. There were no shouting matches or angry tears. It was quiet and deliberate, a moment of truth that could not be ignored. They looked at each other, and for the first time the unspoken became visible, the bond that had grown slowly through attention, patience, and shared experience now needed naming. She felt her heart open in ways she had not expected. The fear of vulnerability was strong, but the desire for connection was stronger. She realized that speaking her truth was the only way forward. He felt a similar release. The weight of uncertainty lifted slightly as honesty filled the space between them. He understood that love required courage, not just patience. For a long time, they simply stayed near each other. No words were necessary. The presence itself spoke volumes. Every glance, every breath, every small movement communicated acceptance and care. They revisited memories of their shared past. The small moments that seemed ordinary now carried new significance. Each encounter reinforced the reality that their bond was real and worth the effort. They acknowledged the obstacles that lay ahead. Life would continue to demand attention to duties and responsibilities. There would be moments of distance and doubt, yet they understood that truth and courage could overcome these challenges. The conversation led them to express gratitude for patience, for understanding, for presence, in moments where either could have chosen to leave. Gratitude for the simple acts of attention that had sustained them through this exchange. They discovered a deeper dimension of love, a love that required honesty, patience, and the willingness to stand together even when life felt heavy. They spent hours talking quietly. Some memories were shared for the first time. Some fears were revealed for the first time. Each disclosure strengthened the connection and reduced the burden of secrecy. Learned to navigate their emotions together. Neither tried to control the other nor hide their own struggles. Instead, they created a space where emotions could exist without judgment. As the day faded into evening, they walked slowly through familiar streets. The city seemed softer somehow, the lights more forgiving. Noticed details that had been overlooked before: the way the wind moved, the sound of footsteps and voices around them. In the quiet of shared presence, they realized how much they had come to rely on each other, not in a possessive way, but in a way that offered support and strength. Their bond had shifted from curiosity to commitment. They faced a pivotal choice: to retreat into the comfort of familiarity or step forward and embrace vulnerability fully. Both understood that love required risk, not recklessness, but the courage to be seen completely. They chose to move forward. The decision was quiet and deliberate. It was not a declaration for others, but an agreement between the man. Understanding that whatever came next, they would face it together. They held each other's hands without speaking. Gesture carried more meaning than any words could. Was an acknowledgement of truth, courage, and commitment. Through this moment of truth, they discovered the power of emotional honesty, the power of naming feelings and acknowledging reality. They learned that love was not just feeling, but action, attention, presence, and care. The rest of the day passed with a quiet serenity. No grand celebrations, no dramatic gestures, just the comfort of mutual understanding. They returned to their routines, but with a changed perspective. She moved through her tasks with renewed strength. Fears and doubts had not disappeared, but the awareness of support made them lighter. She felt capable of facing responsibilities without feeling alone. Moved through his day with a quiet confidence, knowing that his presence mattered and that the connection had been acknowledged. Gave him clarity and calm. They began to imagine a future not as an abstract idea, but as a shared possibility, a future where challenges would be faced together, where honesty and patience would guide decisions. Every small interaction now carried deeper meaning, a glance, a word, a shared silence. Were part of a larger understanding that love required both courage and gentleness. They realized that this moment of truth was not the end, but the beginning that required continued effort, attention, and care. Yet it was also a moment of relief, knowing that what had been unspoken was now acknowledged through courage and honesty. They discovered a profound emotional connection, one that survived fear, doubt, and distance, and became a foundation for future experiences. Though the world continued around them, the city moved fast, and responsibilities pressed in. They carried with them a quiet but powerful understanding that love had been acknowledged and embraced in its simplest yet deepest form. Time moved forward, and their lives continued with the quiet rhythm of care and attention. The bond that had been tested and nurtured became a source of strength for both. They discovered a new way to face each day together, while respecting the individuality of each moment. Small gestures continued to hold meaning, a gentle look, a word spoken at the right moment, a presence that never demanded but always offered. These acts became the foundation of their shared life. Challenges still appeared in life, but they approached them differently. No longer alone, they relied on each other for strength, courage, and patience. Even when solutions were not clear, they faced them together. She felt lighter than before. The weight of carrying burdens alone had shifted. She realized that sharing did not weaken her, it made her stronger. He felt more capable and grounded, knowing that his presence made a difference. They began to create new memories, moments that would later become stories they could tell each other in quiet hours. Walk through the city streets, a shared cup of tea, a conversation that lasted until the sun dipped below the horizon. Even the simplest moments carried emotional depth. They noticed details that others might miss, the sound of laughter that was genuine, the small acts of kindness toward strangers, the subtle care in how they attended to each other. They discovered that love was not just in grand gestures, but in consistency, being present each day. It's listening and understanding without expectation or demand. They talked about the future with a sense of possibility, not plans written in stone, but hopes nurtured gently over time. They envisioned shared spaces where support and understanding would continue. Their bond inspired them to be better versions of themselves. She approached work and responsibilities with more patience and clarity. He approached challenges with understanding and resolve. They continued to learn from each other, lessons in kindness, in patience, in emotional courage. They realized that love was a living experience that required attention and care. Through quiet attention, they healed past wounds. She let go of fears that had held her back for years. He released doubts that had once limited his capacity to connect. Every small shared experience reinforced the bond. They understood that love was not just about presence, but about participation in each other's lives. They continued to face hardships, financial pressures, unexpected events, and moments of doubt appeared. Yet they no longer felt the weight as individually crushing. They faced these together. They learned to celebrate small victories, a completed project, a shared laugh, a moment of understanding. These moments became symbols of growth, resilience, and emotional intimacy. Over time, the city and its noise became a backdrop. The real focus was the quiet, ongoing connection. It was a connection that required attention but gave immense emotional return. They realized that love had changed from curiosity to commitment, not bound by formalities, but by mutual care and respect. To commitment to show up for each other, even when life was hard. Through this understanding, they discovered a sense of peace, not a peace without challenge, but a peace with support and understanding. A peace that allowed them to be themselves and be seen fully. They discovered that the ordinary moments held the deepest. Meaning a touch, a glance, a shared silence, these were the moments that shaped their shared life and emotional connection. They learned to forgive small mistakes and misunderstandings. They practiced patience and empathy in ways that were natural and continuous. This created a bond resilient to the small storms of life. They realized that their love story was not about perfection. It was about the willingness to understand the other, to listen without judgment, to offer presence without demand. Through time and attention, they built trust that was deeper than words. Trust that allowed each to be vulnerable without fear of rejection. Trust that offered freedom as well as connection. They continued to support each other through changes in life's career shifts, personal challenges, and family needs. They faced these together while maintaining the bond that had grown over years of quiet attention. Through this journey, they discovered joy and simplicity. Moments that could be overlooked by others became treasures for them. Shared laughter, a quiet meal, a conversation that lasted into the night. They understood that love was about balance between giving and receiving, speaking and listening, planning and following. It was about attention and care, not grand gestures or societal expectations. They continued to share dreams and aspirations. All would be realized immediately, but the sharing itself deepened their connection. Each hope and thought was received with encouragement and understanding. Their life became a series of intertwined moments, a tapestry of quiet courage, patience, and emotional connection. A story that could not be measured in days or events, but in shared experiences and trust. They realized that the journey itself was the reward, not just the outcome of love, but the ongoing process of giving attention, care, and understanding. Each day added layers to the foundation they had created together. They discovered that love was transformative, changed how they saw themselves, how they saw the world, and how they faced challenges. It created resilience, gentleness, and understanding. They did not need to speak often to know they were there for each other. A glance, a small gesture, a shared silence communicated volumes. They had learned the language of presence and emotional intimacy. Time continued, and their bond deepened. Was not perfect, nor always easy yet. It was lasting, meaningful, and deeply human. Through patience, courage, honesty, and shared attention, they discovered a love that could endure, a love that transformed ordinary life into something emotionally profound and memorable. And though the world around them moved quickly and unpredictably, they carried a quiet strength rooted in connection, understanding, and care. Love that would not be forgotten, in a story that lived in the smallest moments and the largest shared experiences. Life continued to unfold with unexpected twists and gentle discoveries. They faced new challenges together, but with the strength that had been built over time. Each day brought small lessons about patience, understanding, and resilience. She noticed how much her perspective had changed. The burdens that once felt overwhelming now seemed lighter. With someone sharing them, she felt stronger and more capable than before. He noticed the same shift in himself. The challenges he faced no longer felt solitary. The support and attention they gave each other transformed how he approached life. They discovered the beauty of routine and rhythm together. Shared walk in the morning, a quiet conversation in the evening, simple acts that strengthened their connection without fanfare or expectation. Even the city seemed different. The familiar streets held memories and significance that were created together. A small cafe, a quiet park, a corner where sunlight fell just right, all became symbols of their shared journey. Through small gestures they had communicated care, a touch on the shoulder, a smile across the room, a question asked with genuine interest. These acts became the language of their love. They learned to navigate difficult moments without fear. Disagreements and misunderstandings were addressed calmly and with respect. Each resolved conflict, reinforced trust and understanding. She discovered that love was more than affectionate. It's commitment, attention, and emotional courage, the willingness to stand by someone even when life was hard. He discovered that supporting someone required listening without judgment, valuing the other person without trying to control or fix everything. Patience became as important as passion. They shared dreams quietly. Not all were achievable immediately, but discussing hopes and aspirations created closeness. Even imagining future possibilities became an act of connection. They faced moments of fear and uncertainty and unexpected events, threatened comfort and stability. Yet they faced these together with mutual support and care. She found joy in the smallest shared experiences, a conversation during sunset, a shared laugh over a memory. These Connors and laugh over a memory became treasures that enriched her life. He found fulfillment in her happiness and in the act of being present. The sense of partnership gave meaning to ordinary days and extraordinary moments alike. They discovered that love was transformative. It changed how they approached challenges, how they treated others, and how they saw themselves. Strength, gentleness, and understanding grew naturally. In moments of silence, their bond spoke volumes. A glance, a touch, a shared presence conveyed emotions beyond words. They had learned to understand each other deeply without needing constant conversation. They continued to grow individually, and together, she learned to embrace vulnerability without fear of judgment. He learned to offer support without losing his own identity. Through shared experiences, they built resilience. They knew that life would continue to present difficulties, but facing them together made challenges manageable and moments of joy more vivid. They celebrated milestones quietly. Small victories in work, personal growth, and relationship progress became shared moments of pride and gratitude. Success reinforced their connection and deepened emotional intimacy. Their bond became a source of inspiration. Act of patience and understanding reminded them of the value of love cultivated over time. They understood that love required ongoing attention. It was not static or guaranteed. It was a living experience nourished by care, patience, and honesty. She discovered freedom within connection, not being controlled or confined, but feeling supported and understood. He discovered that true strength could exist alongside gentleness. Together, they built a life that balanced independence and intimacy. They respected personal space while nurturing emotional closeness. This balance became a guiding principle in their relationship. Through challenges and joys, they learned to communicate without words. A simple look, a shared smile, a comforting touch. These moments became the threads that wove their lives together. They discovered that happiness often came from consistency and reliability. The steady presence of someone who cares proved more powerful than dramatic gestures. Even ordinary routines became extraordinary when shared. Cooking a meal, walking through the city, cleaning a space. Every shared task became an opportunity for connection. They faced uncertainty with courage and clarity, knowing that together they could navigate difficulties. Gave confidence and peace through time and experience. They discovered a deep sense of trust that allowed them to be vulnerable without fear. Trust that allowed for mistakes and forgiveness. Their lives became a mixture of ordinary days and meaningful moments. Every interaction added to the foundation of their connection. They realized that love was not only about feeling good, but about building resilience, understanding, and presence. The shared journey mattered as much as the moments of joy. They continued to explore new possibilities together, trying new activities, visiting new places. Learning from each other's experience became a shared story that strengthened the bond. Through all of this, they remained patient with each other, understanding that growth and change were ongoing, that love required continuous effort and attention. They noticed small changes in themselves, increased patience, greater empathy, deeper understanding, and more courage. These traits emerged naturally from being together and nurturing the bond. They also noticed changes in how they faced the world. Challenges seemed less daunting, joys more vivid, and everyday life richer in meaning. Through all experiences, they maintained a focus on kindness and respect. To every act of care, no matter how small, reinforced emotional intimacy and trust. They discovered that love could be gentle, yet powerful, quiet, yet transformative, simple yet enduring. Their story continued to unfold with patience, understanding, and shared attention. They faced life as partners, equals, and companions. The days that followed were full of quiet moments that spoke volumes. They had built a bond that was steady and resilient. And now life offered opportunities to test it further. She woke each morning with a sense of hope that had been absent in her life for a long time. Even the simple act of walking through the streets felt different when he was there by her side. continued to share ordinary routines that carried extraordinary meaning. A shared cup of tea in the morning, a walk along familiar streets, a conversation that lasted until the sun dipped low in the sky every day brought moments that reminded them why their connection was worth nurturing through small acts of attention. They deepened their understanding of each other, a gentle touch on the shoulder when one was tired, a question asked with genuine care, a look that spoke of understanding without needing words. These acts became their language of love and presence even when life presented challenges. They faced them together. Work responsibilities and unexpected obstacles tested their patience and resilience. Said they had learned to lean on each other for support and to navigate difficulties without losing their connections. She noticed how much she had changed since the beginning of their journey. The burdens she once carried alone now felt lighter. She had discovered strength in vulnerability and courage and trust. Every shared experience had shaped her into someone who could face the world with confidence while remaining gentle and empathetic. He noticed similar changes in himself. Support and presence they offered each other had transformed the way he approached life. He was calmer in moments of uncertainty, more patient with himself and others, and more capable of offering care without losing his own sense of self. They discovered the beauty of quiet companionship. All moments needed words or grand gestures, sometimes sitting together in silence or walking side by side through the city carried more meaning than any elaborate display of affection. They continued to face challenges with honesty and openness. When disagreements arose, they addressed them calmly and with respect. Every resolved conflict strengthened their trust and reinforced the bond that had been growing steadily over time. Through these experiences, they learned the value of patience and understanding. They realized that love was not only about emotion, but about consistent action, attention, and care. Every small gesture of kindness or consideration added to the foundation of their relationship. They shared dreams and hopes, quietly not every aspiration was immediately achievable, but speaking about them nurtured intimacy and connection. They imagined a future together without forcing it into reality too soon, allowing it to unfold naturally. They discovered that happiness often emerged from simple, consistent practices. Listening without judgment, speaking with care, and showing attention in small ways became the rhythm of their life. Each day reinforced their understanding of each other and the depth of their bond. Even the city around them seemed transformed by their presence. Ordinary streets, parks, and cafes became infused with memories of laughter, conversation, and shared experiences. The world moved quickly, but within their shared space, time seemed slower and more meaningful. They learned to embrace vulnerability with courage. She found that speaking her fears and doubts did not weaken her, but allowed for trust and emotional closeness to grow. He discovered that offering support without attempting to control outcomes created freedom and strengthened their connection through small, shared rituals. They nurtured their bond. A morning greeting, a question about the day, a gentle touch, and the attention given to small details became symbols of care and commitment. They realized that these ordinary acts were the building blocks of a lasting connection. They faced life with greater resilience. Obstacles still appeared, but no longer felt insurmountable. The support and understanding they offered each other created a sense of security that allowed them to approach challenges calmly and effectively. Through shared experiences, they learned the power of forgiveness and empathy. Mistakes were made or misunderstandings occurred. They responded with compassion and understanding rather than anger or blame. These practices reinforced trust and allowed their relationship to continue growing. They continued to explore the city and the world around them. New experiences, walks through unfamiliar streets, visits to places neither had been before. Work experience became a shared story that deepened connection and understanding. Even quiet, mundane activities became meaningful. Preparing meals together, cleaning, or organizing shared spaces, or simply sitting in silence became opportunities for connection and intimacy. They discovered that love could thrive in everyday life without needing dramatic gestures. They nurtured each other through moments of doubt and fear. When one faced uncertainty or challenge, the other offered attention, care, and reassurance without judgment or demand. This created a foundation of trust and emotional security that strengthened their bond. Celebrated small victories, quietly completing a project, achieving a personal goal, or simply surviving a difficult day became moments of shared pride and gratitude. Each celebration reinforced the emotional intimacy between them through consistent presence and attention. They discovered the transformative power of love. It changed how they approached themselves, each other, and the world around them. Kindness, patience, resilience, and understanding became natural aspects of their character. Even silence became a shared language. A glance, a smile, or simply sitting together without words communicated care, understanding, and connection. They learned to interpret and respond to each other's needs. Intuitively, they continued to grow both individually and together. She learned to embrace vulnerability and express herself openly without fear. He learned to offer support and care without losing his own identity or autonomy. Through shared experiences, they built resilience and adaptability, faced the uncertainties of life together, and found comfort in mutual support. Every challenge became an opportunity for growth and a chance to reinforce their connection. They discovered that love could be gentle yet powerful, quiet yet transformative. It did not require perfection or constant excitement, only attention, care, and consistency. Through these practices, they created a relationship that was both deeply human and enduring. Through time and shared attention, they cultivated emotional depth and intimacy. They understood that love required both courage and gentleness. Every day they nurtured their bond through presence, listening, and small acts of care. They embraced the ordinary as extraordinary, walking, talking, sharing meals, preparing spaces, observing the world around them. Every act became an opportunity to connect and reinforce their bond. They faced uncertainty with confidence, knowing they had each other allowed them to navigate difficulties calmly. They discovered that shared attention and understanding created resilience and peace. Through years of shared experience, they built trust that allowed for vulnerability without fear. They forgave mistakes, embraced growth, and nurtured emotional intimacy consistently. Their lives became a tapestry of ordinary days and meaningful moments. Every interaction, every shared experience contributed to the depth and stability of their connection. They understood that love was both process and result, effort and reward. They continued to nurture each other's dreams even when aspirations were not immediately realizable. The act of sharing them created closeness and support. They imagined a future together filled with hope, possibility, and mutual care. Through continuous attention and care, they learned the transformative nature of love. They became more patient, empathetic, resilient, and emotionally capable. These qualities influenced not only their relationship, but their approach to life in general. Event. Ordinary routines became meaningful. Simple gestures, shared meals, walks, and conversations reinforced their connection and created a shared life full of depth. They continued to face challenges with understanding, and calm life continued to test them, but their bond and trust provided a solid foundation to navigate difficulties. Through patience, presence, and consistent care, they discovered a lasting, human, and emotionally fulfilling love. Was a love built through attention, kindness, courage, and shared understanding. Every day became a continuation of their story, a story not defined by drama, but by the quiet unfolding of connection, understanding, and care. A shared moment added to the depth and resilience of their bond. Through all experiences, joys, challenges, silences, and conversations, they remained partners, equals, and companions. They discovered a love that was quiet, enduring, and transformative, a love that could face life and leave a lasting mark on their hearts and lives.